Hello, welcome to Caffeinated Cast-Ons YouTube. I am Therese, also known as Caffeinated Cast-Ons. I am a North Texas-based knitter, and you can find me on Instagram as Caffeinated Cast-Ons. I have my coffee. This is my second cup of the day. I did have hot coffee this morning during all my morning meetings for work, and now I'm on cold brew with cold foam. And isn't that so pretty? It's all kind of like melted into the glass now, but it's so good. Let's see what's today. I'm gonna remember this time. It is Friday, March 1st, a whole new month. I would say that the month of February felt like it went by quick, but it is a shorter month, so that makes sense to say. So let's do a recap of how February went in terms of my making, and we'll talk about March knitting plans. First things first, finished objects. So I have one finished object from this past week, and that is a square for my Afghan class that I'm taking. This is an older square. As you may know if you've been watching, I have had a couple of older squares that I just did not finish before moving on to the next one. So this was square 4, which is just like this ribbing texture. I don't remember the exact stitch, but it does look beautiful. You can see it is very stretchy. So it looks a little bit squished in and skinnier, but that will block right out. Yeah, so I'm glad I was able to finish this because I have more coming up, and I'll get into that whenever I talk about my March knitting plans. So it was the only finished object for this past week, which brings my February finished objects total to 4 finished objects. So I finished 3 different Afghan squares and 1 pair of socks, which were my scrappy socks that I showed a few episodes back. But the theme for February was pretty much Afghan squares and socks. And I have to say, I actually really enjoyed it. It was so nice just to have those kind of main focuses of my projects. It wasn't a million and one different types of projects I was working on. It was pretty consistent in the type of project that it was. So I really enjoyed that, just because January was kind of chaotic. I really liked that it was toned down a bit for February. And I feel like I'm going in with that same mentality for March knitting. So February started, I think, with 9 whips total. And for March, we are working with 2, 4, 5 whips. So we've come a long way, I feel like, since January. So let's talk about, I'll list all the whips that I have, and then we'll talk about the actual whips that I worked on this past week. I'm gonna take off my watch because the dog likes the reflection and she's huffing and puffing down here. Okay, so I have my knitting journal. It's just a notebook that I found at a store. So my whips for March that I have on my list, and this is just all whips total, is sock 2 of my Valentine socks, sock 2 of my Find the Joy socks, square 5 of my Afghan, which is again going back and catching up from previous ones, good old Scotch broom tee, and then my DK jelly blanket. So I'm feeling pretty good about this list, especially because that DK jelly blanket is a long-term project, and then the Scotch broom, we'll eventually get it done. The new goal for that one is just to get it done by the fall for Fiberfest, whenever that rolls into town again. But we won't even go there right now. The next section I have in my knitting journal is upcoming projects. So anticipating what's going to be coming up in March that I will need to be casting on. So squares 9 and 10, which are my upcoming class for this month for the Afghan. An assigned pulling project. I've shown the yarn before. I don't feel like getting it out again. But I do have some assigned pulling yarn that I bought at Fiberfest last year, so 2023. Me and two of my friends, we each got a different color of the assigned pulling from A Chick That Knits, and we've all picked different projects to cast on with our assigned pulling, and so we're going to cast that on together here soon once spring break rolls around, just because we'll have a bit more free time, and it's nice because it's not right at the beginning of March because I'm not ready for that yet. And so we've still got some time before we cast that on. And then I do want to cast on a Summer Lee sock. I believe I showed it last time, and I'll show it just because the yarn is like right here. But I'm going to be casting on, man, I'm making a mess. I am going to be casting on one of her lace socks in this beautiful like magenta color from Suburban Stitcher. This is on their sock base, and the colorway is Cosmopolitan, and I think it's just going to look really beautiful in the pattern that I have my eye on. So I'm not going to cast this on right away, so this will probably be a little bit later in March. I definitely want to finish at least one of the socks that I'm working on before I do that. And then I would like to do a washcloth. I have that on my upcoming project section. So with that, goals. Hold on. This is really good. This is a smaller cup. Like, it's not that big, but I have to make another. I probably shouldn't have too much coffee today though. Although I do have a lot to do. So if you look in my Instagram bio, it does say overly caffeinated. So goals for the month of March for knitting. I would like to finish both socks that I'm working on. I'll show those here in a minute. At least one washcloth, because I did not do any in February, and that is not on track for seeing how many washcloths that I want to knit in a month for a year. So I would like to do at least one for March, just one. And then I want to add all my available colors into my DK jelly blanket that I have. It's sitting right back there. I'll show you that in a little bit as well. And then lastly, I have my finished object section, which nothing is there because it's March 1st and I have not done any knitting yet this month. No, I take that back. I was working on stuff. I knit some this morning, like in bed, whenever I woke up, but nothing's finished. So that's just kind of how I have the breakdown of my knitting journal. As I finish a whip, I'll cross it off here, write it down finished under finished objects. And then once I start one of the upcoming projects, I'll cross it off here and put it under my whip list. So pretty straightforward. I am not using brain and mental space to do a bullet journal. I've seen plenty of other people do that. You may see it on Instagram or just other knitters you may follow. More power to them. I'd rather use my mental capacity to focus on the projects or updating my Ravelry project pages a bit more and adding notes there. This is simple, straightforward. It's what I need. So I'm just gonna do that because that's what my brain can handle. So that's what we're doing. Nothing fancy, just a nice breakdown. Okay, whips. So the first one is sock 2 of my Valentine's socks. So these were socks that I wanted to finish in February by Valentine's Day, and whenever I decided I wanted to finish, I was the caffeine is kicking in. In February, I was like, I'm gonna challenge myself to finish a pair of socks in 2 weeks, because I have not done that since my first year of knitting. And I wanted just to challenge myself to see if I could still do it. I did not. They're still being worked on, which is totally fine. Yeah, so I'm working on sock 2. Sock 1 is already done. I've shown it before. I'll just go ahead and fish it out. It is just a vanilla sock. I added some pops of color in the contrasting heels, toes, cuffs. Excuse me. And I'm working these on 9-inch circulars. This is my second time to do a 9-inch circular, and I'm enjoying it. It's nice, and it really just makes that vanilla straight stockinette knitting even more mindless. So it's going good. I just realized that I don't have a progress keeper on here. I only have my beginning of round marker, but I believe last week I had just started the leg. I think I just finished the cuff and maybe had a few rounds on the leg. So just doing the leg. I haven't been counting. I need to put my stitch markers on there to count every 10 rounds so I can just eyeball it and just check at a glance how far I am. Yeah, so that's just vanilla knitting, and it's nice and still beautiful. Still obsessed with these colors. So I'm hoping to finish this by the end of the month. My next whip is my Find the Joy. Yeah, is my Find the Joy socks. I actually did not pick these up this week. I just realized that. So I'll show them anyways. It's time for the heel flap. Just look how beautiful. And usually whenever I get to a heel in the sock, it usually will sit down for a little bit, just because I know I need a little bit more brain power to really focus on the heel and try to get as much of it done, if not all of it done in one sitting. Just because it's not my favorite thing to put heels down, especially a heel flap and gusset, just because there's more thought into it, more pieces, just because I don't have heels memorized. I always have to look back at the pattern, which is fine. But this is ready for the heel, so probably this upcoming week I'll at least do the heel flap. That will make that the official goal, to do the heel flap of this week. Maybe today. Who knows? But at least sometime in this upcoming week. So that's sock 2 of that sock, and I am so excited for whenever I do finish those socks, because they are so beautiful and I really enjoyed the pattern. Even though they've taken me a long time, it's not due to the pattern at all. It's the Crazy Sock Lady. It's her pattern. Great pattern, great instructions. Just my mental capacity this season has not fully been there, especially since I have a child. I have a young child, a little. So yeah, but feeling really good about that sock. Next whip that I have is square 5 of my Afghan. Ooh. And I'm not very far along on this one. Again, this is catching up from previous squares that I did not finish on time. Oh, it's the wrong side. Here's the right side. There we go. Yeah, so I have quite a bit of ways to go here. I would like to get it done by next week. I think that's definitely doable, especially if I keep this as my morning knitting this week before I start like my work day, just my knitting in bed. Whenever I wake up and get everybody out the door, definitely doable. So probably if I focus that as my morning knitting, and then get the heel for sock 2, I Find the Joy, and then maybe get to the heel, but not do the heel in my Valentine socks. I'm just kind of thinking out loud to plan, but yeah. This blanket is always hard to show because it is definitely growing, but this is my DK jelly blanket. The original pattern is the Jelly Roll Blanket by K.F. Jones. I've modified. I love how the Crazy Sock Lady modified hers, and so I'm just following her modifications exactly. Ugh. I'm on the 4th strip wide. It is very long. I think I made it like a tad too long, but it's fine. I definitely like fold myself in my blanket, so I'm not too worried. But just look at those colors. Oh. It's beautiful. I got yarn everywhere. So the last time I showed this, I think, was down here. I had just started the 4th strip. And so I've added 2 colors. You can't really tell because these kind of blend together, but I am on a new color now. I have probably like 15 grams of yarn. I don't know for sure. So working on adding that in. Super exciting. And so I mentioned that my goal for the DK Jelly Blanket this month is to add in all available colors. It's gonna get noisy for a second. So I just keep all the yarn that I'm using for this blanket in a Ziploc bag, nothing fancy. And I have 4 colors left to add in of just yarn that's meant for this project. So I have, this is probably like 10 grams, I think. And I'm pretty sure I already added this color in, but I had 10 grams left that I found, so I'm just gonna add it in again. And then I have this neon green, this speckled pink and yellow, so beautiful. And then this tweed, blue tweed. So hold them all up. This is all I have left. And so if I can get all of these added in by the end of this month, I think this project is going to go into hibernation for a little bit so I can focus on other things. Just because I have plenty of yarn that I could throw into this, but that yarn's not in a place where I'm ready to, I guess, retire it to this point, because all the other yarn from my stash that is not whole skeins, I would still like to use those in projects. So either making scrappy socks or just making other socks with them, because some of them do have like about 30 grams. I'm not ready for them to be in this state yet. So I'm still working through those, and then from other projects that I cast on, I kind of want to rebuild a stash for this bag to go into the blanket. So, excuse me. I think after I finish adding these all in, the blanket's gonna go hibernate for a little bit. I will pull it out if I have more, if I just need something easy to knit on. But yeah, I think it's just gonna hang out for a little bit once I get it all caught up. Let's put this all back. And it's just all in this bag by the Bay Bag Co. It's huge. And it's gonna be great because this blanket is gonna grow. So it's gonna be nice. There's lots of pockets in there. So yay. That's all the knitting I have for this week. It is a little bit satisfying that my whips are getting less and less. Just again, that like mental clarity and space I have free up here is very nice. I'm very excited about that. Reading, watching, listening. I just haven't picked up my book. I think I need to switch genres because I'm just not feeling this. The Body Keeps the Score. It is very like textbook and study-like. I'd rather just have something less serious, I guess. So I need to go through what I have on my bookshelves and switch that up because I really do miss reading. But right now I would just rather be knitting. I don't know. It's hard. I feel like I'm usually like one or the other. Yeah, so we'll see on books. Watching The Big Bang Theory is just, oh my gosh, something happened that I half predicted but half did not see coming. And I just don't know what's gonna happen. It's making me nervous. We are gonna go watch Dune this weekend, which I'm super excited about. I can't remember what else. Listening, just the usual podcast, no playlist in particular. Hey, how's it going? Yeah. Let's just wrap her on up with 3 simple joys because I'm running out of stuff and the caffeine's hitting, so I feel like I need to start moving and going. So 3 simple joys for this week. 1, my son's belly laugh. Oh my goodness. And it's funny. Well, 1, like his laugh is, and his personality is like really shining right now. And his laugh is just the purest thing you've ever heard. I love it so much. But it's funny because like I could tickle him and he could be belly laughing and then we keep going and then I'll start tickling him again. He's just like, I'm done. Like, I'm not ticklish anymore. I'm done laughing. It's just like, what are you doing? So it's funny. Simple joy number 2 is date night. My husband and I went out for date night this past week. We go every other week. And my mom came to watch the baby and it was super nice and we just had a fun dinner. And yes, there are times here at dinner where we just talk about our son. Yeah, but it's so great. It's just one-on-one time that we don't get too often anymore since we are busy with our son and just work in general. So it's super nice just to have that time together. And then simple joy number 3 has been working out. I started working out this week because I have a soon to be very mobile child to keep up with. And so I feel better mentally whenever I work out. And it's been a long time since I've worked out consistently. And that's just for me. I just want to feel better. And I've had a lot of aches and pains since having a baby. So just want to get better in that aspect and have the energy in my body not be so achy. I do have physical therapy that I'm going to be doing here in a couple weeks as well that my doctor recommended. So yeah, I'm really excited to be moving my body again. Definitely been feeling some soreness, but it also just feels really good. Yeah, so those are my joys from this past week. All right, I'm gonna close her on up here. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you come back for next week's episode. I feel weird calling these episodes. I feel like I could have a whole conversation on this. Like, I'm not even gonna call this a podcast anymore because like it's just, we're not even gonna go there. It's just my YouTube channel. That's all it is. But come back for next week's video and we'll see how 1 week into March goes with all my knitting goals. And so until next time, stay caffeinated.